Fleet Commander Duhyun stood at the bridge of his massive warship, his gray skin gleaming under the bright control panel lights. Earth hung in the viewport like a blue marble, completely unaware of the 1,000 ships surrounding it. This would be the easiest conquest in his career. "Begin the invasion sequence," he ordered, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "Fire up the—" A loud beeping sound interrupted him. On the main screen, a message box popped up with the Earth Defense Bureau logo. EROR. Form X-139B notified. Invasion request KNOTBE processed. "What is this?" Duhyun asked, his antennae twitching in confusion. "Override it." His tech officer pressed several buttons, but more message boxes appeared. ATENTLION. Your attempt to enter Earth's atmosphere has been flagged for the following violations. No pre-invasion notice filed. 72 hours required. Missing environmental impact assessment. Lack of proper insurance coverage for planetary destruction. Non-compliance with local noise regulations. Expired fleet registration. "This must be some kind of joke," Duhyun muttered. He had conquered 12 planets before this. None of them had asked for paperwork. The communication officer's console lit up. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." A human appeared on screen. She wore a neat business suit and had a name tag that read, Hae-Yun, Chief Administrator, Earth Defense Bureau. "Good morning," she said pleasantly, shuffling some papers on her desk. "I see you're attempting an unauthorized invasion of Earth. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to cease and desist until the proper documentation is filed." Duhyun blinked all 4 of his eyes. "We are the galactic hegemony. We do not file paperwork." "I understand you're eager to begin," Hae-Yun said, her smile never wavering. "However, Section 47, Paragraph 9 of Earth's Interplanetary Relations Code clearly states that all hostile actions must be properly documented. Would you like me to email you the forms?" "No, we will not." "I'm sending them now," she continued cheerfully. "Please note that Form X-139B must be filled out in black ink only. Blue ink submissions will be automatically rejected. Also, don't forget to include your fleet's safety inspection certificates. They must be dated within the last 30 Earth days." Duhyun's second heart started pounding. "Listen, human. We have 1,000 ships. We have planet-destroying weapons. Oh dear," Hae-Yun interrupted, looking concerned. "Planet-destroying weapons. You'll need to fill out Form Z-892 for those. It's a special permit for weapons of mass destruction. There's also a mandatory 90-day waiting period, and you'll need 3 character references from previously conquered planets." The bridge crew watched in horror as their commander's gray skin turned a pale white. "This is ridiculous," Duhyun shouted. "We will simply attack." He pressed the fire button himself. Nothing happened. "I apologize," Hae-Yun said, not looking sorry at all. "But since you failed to file the proper forms, Earth's defensive bureaucracy has automatically locked your weapon systems. You'll need to submit an appeal Form C-23 to regain control. The processing time is typically 6 to 8 weeks." Duhyun slumped in his command chair. Just send me the forms." "Wonderful," Hae-Yun beamed. "I'll send over our comprehensive invasion application package. It's only 2,347 pages. Oh, and don't forget to initial every page at the bottom right corner. Any missed initials will result in automatic rejection." As the transmission ended, Duhyun's crew stared at their communication screens in dismay. Thousands of forms were pouring in, each with its own set of instructions, requirements, and deadlines. "Sir," his second-in-command whispered, "what should we do?" Duhyun looked at the endless stream of paperwork with growing dread. He had trained for combat, for space warfare, for planetary bombardment, but nothing in his military career had prepared him for this. "Get me," he swallowed hard, "get me some black ink pens." Back on Earth, Hei-yun smiled as she watched the alien fleet's weapons power down. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out 10 more stacks of forms. This was just the beginning. By the time she was done, these invaders would learn why Earth had never been successfully conquered. The real battle hadn't even started yet, and on this battlefield of bureaucracy, Earth had never lost a war. Hei-yun sat in her office, watching with satisfaction as thousands of government workers worldwide began implementing protocol paperwork. On her computer screen, she could see the alien fleet still hanging in orbit, their weapons systems locked by Earth's administrative safeguards. Her phone rang. Chief Administrator, the aliens are trying to submit their first batch of forms. Excellent, Hei-yun said. Begin Phase 2. In orbit, Fleet Commander Do-hyun was close to tears. His crew had spent 20 hours filling out the initial invasion permits, only to receive a new message. Note I see. All UBMISSIONs must know use UPDATED Forum VEORSION 7.32. Previous versions are no longer accessible. Please RESUBMIT all documentation. But we just finished these, Do-hyun shouted at his screen. His assistant, carrying yet another stack of papers, dropped them in shock. Sir, the assistant said, there's more bad news. Earth has just implemented new regulations. We now need separate permits for each ship in the fleet. Do-hyun's antennae drooped. All 1,000 ships. And each permit needs to be notarized by an Earth-certified notary. The commander grabbed his communication panel. The now familiar face of Hei-yun appeared, still wearing that pleasant smile. How can we get these forms notarized? He demanded. We're in orbit. Oh, that's no problem, Hei-yun replied cheerfully. You can schedule an appointment with our Space Notary Division. They have an opening 3 weeks from Tuesday, though you'll need to fill out Form Key 771 first to request the appointment. In triplicate, of course. Do-hyun's second heart was now beating dangerously fast. 3 weeks? We can't wait 3 weeks. We're an invasion force. I understand your concern, Hei-yun said soothingly. If you'd like to file for an emergency notarization exception, you'll need to submit Form E-992, along with a letter explaining the urgency of your request. The review process for emergency applications typically takes 4 to 6 weeks. In the background, Do-hyun could see dozens of human office workers shuffling papers, stamping documents, and occasionally shredding them while smiling at the camera. We've completed the environmental impact assessment you requested, Do-hyun said, trying to stay calm. Wonderful. However, I should mention that as of this morning, we require all assessments to be peer-reviewed by at least 3 independent Earth universities. Also, you'll need to pay the filing fee. Filing fee? Yes. The current rate is 50,000 Earth dollars per ship. We accept cash, credit, or certified check only. No personal checks. Do-hyun's gray skin was now turning a concerning shade of purple. We don't have Earth money. We're invaders. In that case, you'll need to fill out Form F-556 for the Foreign Invasion Currency Exchange Program. Though I should warn you that current processing times are running about 8 to 10 weeks. Behind Hei-yun, a worker purposefully walked past carrying a sign that read, "Don't forget about the mandatory safety inspections." Safety inspections? Do-hyun asked weakly. Oh yes, Hei-yun brightened. Each ship needs to pass our space vehicle safety standards. The inspector is available every second Thursday of the month, except during holidays. You'll need to schedule at least 6 months in advance, unless, of course, you'd like to apply for an expedited inspection. Let me guess, Do-hyun sighed. That requires another form. Forms, Hei-yun corrected. Forms P81 through P96, to be specific. They must be submitted in alphabetical order, with colored tabs for each section. We're very particular about the tabs. Do-hyun looked around his bridge. His crew was buried under mountains of paper. His second-in-command was curled up in a corner, muttering about signature requirements. 3 officers had already requested transfers. "One last thing," He-Yun added. "We've noticed some of your ships are in restricted parking zones. You'll need to move them immediately or risk getting towed." Towed? In space. Space traffic enforcement is very strict about these things. The fines double every hour, and the impound fees are quite significant. As the transmission ended, Do-hyun received another 100 messages about new forms, updated regulations, and parking violations. He looked at Earth through his viewport, finally understanding why no invasion force had ever succeeded. They weren't just fighting humans. They were fighting the most powerful force in the universe, bureaucracy. And they were losing badly. Jaiho was the hegemony's best warrior. He had fought in 100 battles and never lost. Now, standing in front of a small government office in Seoul, he felt completely defeated. "Next," called the bored-looking clerk named Sang-me. Jaiho stepped forward, his combat armor making squeaking noises against the plastic chair. He had sneaked past Earth's orbital defenses in a small pod, ready to begin a ground invasion. Instead, he found himself holding a ticket number 458. "I wish to invade this planet," Jaiho announced proudly. Sang-me didn't even look up from her computer. "Do you have an appointment?" "I am an elite warrior. I do not need appointments." "No appointment, no invasion," Sang-me said, stamping a paper with a loud thunk. "Next." "Wait," Jaiho protested. "I have been in this line for 6 hours." Sang-me sighed and looked at her computer screen. "Do you have your local invasion permit?" "Yes." "Here," Jaiho said triumphantly, pulling out the form he had spent 3 days filling out. "This is a city permit," Sang-me said. "You also need a provincial permit, a national permit, and separate permits for any historical buildings you plan to destroy." Jaiho's tentacles curled in frustration. "But your supervisor approved this form yesterday." "Oh, that was Tuesday's supervisor," Sang-me explained. "Wednesday's supervisor has different requirements. Also, these forms expired 10 minutes ago." "Expired?" "I just got them." "All invasion permits expire at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays. It's now 3:10. You'll need to start over with the new Thursday forms." She pointed to a sign on the wall that listed different forms for each day of the week. Jaiho slumped against the counter. "Can I at least get the Thursday forms now?" "The Thursday form distribution office closes at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays. It reopens tomorrow at 9 a.m., unless tomorrow is a holiday." "Is tomorrow a holiday?" "You'll need to check with the Holiday Verification Department. They're in Building C, Floor 7. But they only verify holidays on Mondays between 2 p.m. and 2:15 p.m. Jaiho's combat computer was warning him that his stress levels were reaching dangerous heights. He tried a different approach. "What if I just start invading without permits?" Sang-me finally looked up, her expression serious. "That would be a Code 7 violation of Administrative Law 123.45, Subsection B, Paragraph 9. The fines start at $1 million per minute. But I'm an invader. I don't care about fines. All unpaid fines are reported to the Galactic Credit Bureau," Sang-me said calmly. "It will affect your invasion credit score." Jaiho gasped. Even the fiercest warrior knew not to mess with credit scores. His communication device beeped. It was Fleet Commander Do-hyun. "Have you secured a landing zone?" Do-hyun asked desperately. "No, sir," Jaiho replied. "I need more time to get the proper permits." "More permits? We've been filling out forms for weeks." "Sir, did you know each city requires separate paperwork? And they're all different. Some want forms in blue ink, some in black. Some need signatures, some need thumbprints. Some even want them filled out in interpretive dance." "Interpretive dance?" "Yes, sir. The Cultural Expression Department insists that all invasion requests must respect local artistic traditions." Do-hyun's image flickered. Just do whatever they say. We've already lost 30 ships to parking violations. Jaiho looked back at Sangmei, who was now putting up a lunch break sign. But I've been waiting all day, he protested. Lunch break is mandatory by labor law, she explained. We reopen in 2 hours, unless it rains. Rain delays require Form W789, which can only be processed during non-rainy weather. Jaiho, the undefeated warrior of the hegemony, sat down on the floor and began to cry. Above him, a new sign appeared. Crying only permitted in designated areas. Please fill out Emotional Expression Form E123 for crying authorization. In her office, Hei-Yun watched the security footage with satisfaction. She picked up her phone. Begin Phase 3, she said. Release the contradictory regulations. The real fun was about to begin. Administrator Kita sat in his office, surrounded by walls of filing cabinets. On his desk lay his secret weapon, a stack of new regulations that completely contradicted all the old ones. He smiled as he pressed the send button. In orbit, Fleet Commander Do-hyun was just finishing the last of 10,000 forms when his computer chimed. Alert. New regulations in HFY seat immediately. Adol plural evaluus. Hu be mamisssiones. And valoid. G. Elihis refer to updated guid lineus. No, Do-hyun whispered, his antenna going limp. No, no, no. His second-in-command rushed onto the bridge. Sir, the new regulations say we need to fill everything out in red ink. But the old ones specifically banned red ink. Do-hyun's voice cracked. We spent 3 days throwing away all our red pens. Another officer ran in. Commander, the forms now need to be filled out from bottom to top, not top to bottom. Do-hyun stared at the mountain of completed papers on his desk. All filled out from top to bottom. All worthless now. His communication screen lit up. Kite appeared, looking very professional in his Earth business suit. Good morning, Kita said cheerfully. I trust you've seen our updated regulations. You can't do this, Do-hyun shouted. We just finished all the old forms. Oh, I apologize for any confusion, Kita said, not looking sorry at all. But Section 7, Paragraph 12 of the new Form Implementation Protocol clearly states that all regulations can be changed without notice. You did read Section 7, didn't you? Of course we did. We had to memorize every section. Ah, but did you read it in its original Latin? Do-hyun's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Latin. Yes, all official documents must be read in Latin to be legally binding. Didn't you see that requirement? It was hidden in white text on a white background in Form X591, subsection key. The alien commander's gray skin turned almost white, hidden in white text. Of course, as per Regulation 47B, all important notices must be camouflaged to test the applicant's attention to detail. Kita shuffled some papers. Speaking of which, your entire fleet failed the hidden notice detection test. That's an automatic rejection of all previous submissions. One of Do-hyun's officers fainted. Another began hitting his head against the wall. But wait, Do-hyun said desperately. We did find one hidden notice. In the margins of Form T445. Oh dear, Kita frowned. Finding that notice was actually a violation of Privacy Protection Regulation 91C. You'll need to file a self-report violation form and pay the associated fines. What fines? The exact amount will be determined by rolling 3 dice, multiplying the result by your ship's serial number, and converting it to Earth currency based on last Tuesday's exchange rate. Kita paused. You did register for a dice rolling permit, didn't you? Do-hyun slumped in his chair. How do we get a dice rolling permit? That's covered in our Gambling and Games of Chance Regulation Manual. It's only 4,000 pages long. Though I should mention that the manual itself requires a permit to read. Alarms started blaring throughout the alien fleet. Emergency messages flooded in. Sir, our parking permits expired while we were filling out renewal forms. The notary stamps we got last week are now the wrong color. They're demanding proof of insurance for our insurance forms. Our form-filling permits need forms to renew them. Kaita watched the chaos with satisfaction. Oh, and one more thing, he added. All these new regulations are retroactive to the beginning of time. You're currently in violation of about 40,000 years of paperwork requirements. Do-hyun looked at the endless stream of new regulations, each contradicting the last. His mighty invasion fleet, reduced to a mess of administrative violations and permit infractions. How? He whispered. How do you live like this? Kita smiled. Practice, Commander. Lots of practice. Now about those 40,000 years of backforms. In her office, Hao-yeon watched the aliens despair with pride. Earth's greatest weapon wasn't its military might or advanced technology. It was its ability to turn paperwork into an art form of torture. And they were just getting started. Yu-jin huddled with his team of alien paper pushers in a dark corner of the fleet's main ship. They had been the hegemony's best document forgers, capable of faking invasion permits across 3 galaxies. But Earth was different. I think I've cracked their system, Yu-jin whispered, spreading out their latest attempt at forged Earth permits. We just need to copy these watermarks and... An alarm blared across the ship. FORGRYDKTCTED. Automatic fine activated. On every screen in the fleet, Minji's face appeared. As head of Earth's anti-forgery department, she had become the alien's worst nightmare. Attention unauthorized form modifiers, Minji said sweetly. We detected an attempt to forge form X139B at. She checked her watch. Exactly 3:47 p.m. Earth Standard Time. Please note that this violation has been recorded. Yu-jin's team froze. They had used their best forgery techniques. It should have been perfect. How? Yu-jin asked. How did you know? Oh, that's simple, Minji replied. You used the wrong shade of off-white paper. Earth administrative forms only accept paper that is exactly 97.3% white. Yours was 97.4% white. A rookie mistake, really. One of Yu-jin's team members started crying. They had spent 3 days measuring paper whiteness. Also, Minji continued, your staple was at a 45-degree angle. All Earth forms require staples at exactly 43.7 degrees. And don't get me started on your margin measurements. They were off by 0.01 millimeters. Commander Do-hyun burst into their secret meeting room. What did you do? He shouted. They just added another 1,000 forms to our required paperwork because of your forgery attempt. Yu-jin's antennae drooped. Sir, we were trying to help. We thought if we could just forge a few permits. Forge permits. Minji's voice came through the speakers again. I'm afraid that's a Class 7 violation. You'll need to fill out a forgery confession form in triplicate. And since it's after 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, all confessions must be sung in perfect harmony. Sung. Do-hyun's face turned pale. We don't even have human vocal cords. In that case, you'll need to file for a non-human vocal apparatus exemption. Those forms are only available during lunar eclipses and must be signed by at least 3 retired Earth postal workers. Yu-jin looked at his failed forgeries. Every detail they got wrong was circled in red ink, with helpful notes about proper Earth bureaucratic standards. Sir, Yu-jin said to Do-hyun, I come understand. We've forged documents for 30 different civilizations. How are they catching everything? Minji appeared on a different screen, now holding a massive rulebook. Article 458, Section 12. Paragraph 9 clearly states that all forgery attempts must be logged using Form F789, which you failed to submit before attempting your forgery. We need to file paperwork before forging paperwork. Jin asked in disbelief. Of course. How else would we keep track of unauthorized document creation? Though I should mention that Form F789 requires 3 character references from previous successful forgery attempts. Do-hyun grabbed Jin's shoulders. Stop trying to forge things. Every time you make a mistake, they add more requirements. Oh yes, Min-ji added cheerfully. Speaking of additional requirements, your failed forgery attempt has triggered subsection 7C of the Progressive Punishment Protocol. All your future forms must now be filled out while standing on one leg. The entire forgery team looked at their commander in horror. Do-hyun's eye twitched. But we have different anatomy, he protested. We don't stand on legs. In that case, you'll need to file an alternative anatomical structure exemption request. Those are only processed during leap years and must be approved by a panel of Earth breakdance instructors. Jin slumped against the wall, his master forgery tools useless against Earth's bureaucratic might. In all his years of creating fake documents, he had never encountered a system so perfectly designed to catch every mistake. Commander, he whispered, I think we should surrender. Surrender. Min-ji's voice came through again. Oh, that requires Form S591 through S899. The surrender paperwork usually takes about 8 months to process. Would you like me to send you the preliminary surrender consideration application package? The aliens looked at each other in defeat. They had finally met their match. A civilization that had turned bureaucracy into both an art form and a weapon of mass destruction. Fleet Logistics Officer Ta-hyun stared at his computer screen in horror. After 3 months of filling out forms, they had finally received a new message from Earth's tax department. Notice: all military operations require a tax or registration. At AILURE to FILE proper tax returns may result in a redite. Commander, Ta-hyun called out. We have a problem. Do-hyun rushed to the screen, his antennae already drooping in fear of more paperwork. When he read the notice, all 4 of his eyes widened in terror. Taxes, he whispered. They want us to pay taxes on an invasion. The screen flickered, and a new face appeared. It was an Earth tax auditor named Jin, wearing thick glasses and holding a calculator like a weapon. Good morning, she said. I see you've been conducting military operations in Earth's orbit for the past 3 months. According to Section 1043 of the Earth Tax Code, all orbital activities are subject to space occupation tax. Do-hyun's second heart nearly stopped. But we're invaders. We don't pay taxes. Actually, Jin adjusted her glasses. Your fleet's presence counts as a temporary business operation. You'll need to file returns for orbital parking tax, space debris generation tax, alien invasion income tax, threatening behavior surcharge, paperwork processing tax, tax filing tax, tax filing tax. Ta-hyun asked weakly. Yes, we charge a tax for the privilege of filing taxes. Also, since you failed to file these taxes on time, you've incurred late fees dating back to the moment you entered orbit. Do-hyun's calculator officer fainted after seeing the total amount. But we don't have Earth money, Do-hyun protested. In that case, Jin said cheerfully, you'll need to file Form P781. Application for payment plan for taxes on forms required to file taxes for permission to pay taxes. Ta-hyun's antennae began twitching uncontrollably. That doesn't even make sense. Tax law doesn't have to make sense, Jin explained. It just has to be followed. Now about your fleet's parking situation. What about it? Do-hyun asked, dreading the answer. You've been parked in a restricted orbit zone for 3 months, according to Space Traffic Regulation 47B, that incurs a fee of 10,000 Earth dollars per ship per day. Do-hyun did some quick math and promptly fell over. Don't worry, Jin continued. We offer a payment plan, though you'll need to provide 3,000 years of tax returns, birth certificates for all crew members, Proof of insurance for tax document delivery. Certified translation of all documents into 147 Earth languages. Interpretive dance performance of your financial situation. From across the ship, more panic reports started flowing in. Sir, they're charging us carbon tax for our weapon emissions. The forms we filled out last week are now taxable income. They want us to pay education tax for learning their regulations. There's a tax for counting how many taxes we owe. Tai-hyun looked at the endless stream of tax notices and felt his mind starting to break. Commander, he said slowly, do you know what's worse than all these taxes? What could be worse? Do-hyun asked. April 15th is coming up. That's Earth's tax day. Soo-jin's smile grew wider. Oh yes, and since you've been in orbit during a tax year, you'll need to file a full Earth tax return. I'm sending over the basic tax preparation forms now. It's only 70,000 pages. The ship's printer started smoking as it tried to keep up with the incoming tax documents. Warning lights flashed as their paper supplies reached critical levels. One last thing, Soo-jin added. All these forms need to be filed in person at your local Earth tax office. Operating hours are from 3:17 a.m. to 3:18 a.m. every third Tuesday, except during months containing the letter R. Do-hyun looked at the tax forms, then at his broken crew, then at Earth spinning peacefully below them. They had come to conquer this planet, only to find themselves conquered by its most powerful weapon, bureaucratic tax law. Perhaps, he said quietly, we should have invaded a simpler planet, like that black hole in Sector 7. Tai-hyun nodded in agreement. At least black holes only destroyed your body. Earth's tax system destroyed your soul. Jin-woo sat in his small office aboard the alien flagship, surrounded by stacks of Earth paperwork. As a junior administrative officer for the invasion fleet, he had spent months studying Earth's bureaucratic systems. And slowly, something strange had happened. He had fallen in love with them. These humans are brilliant, he whispered, carefully organizing a stack of forms by color, size, and number of staples. Such perfect organization. Such beautiful chaos. The door burst open. Fleet Commander Do-hyun stormed in, looking more stressed than ever. Jin-woo, where are today's invasion permits? Oh, I'm sorry, Commander, Jin-woo said calmly. But according to Earth Regulation 472b, all permit requests must be submitted 47.3 hours in advance, using the proper cover sheet. Do-hyun froze. What did you just say? And I noticed your request form wasn't dated in the Earth Standard Format. That's a violation of Section 89, Paragraph 12. The commander's antennae twitched violently. You're starting to sound like them. Jin-woo smiled and adjusted his newly acquired Earth-style tie. I've been studying their methods, Commander. Did you know they have 17 different types of paperclips, each with its own specific use case? It's fascinating. Across the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Alien bureaucrats who had spent months dealing with Earth's systems were changing. They started wearing Earth business clothes. They created their own forms. They demanded everything in triplicate. Do-hyun's communication screen lit up. It was Ha-hyun from Earth. I see your administrative staff has been studying our methods, she said with a knowing smile. What have you done to them? Do-hyun demanded. We didn't do anything. They simply recognized the beauty of proper administrative procedure. Behind Do-hyun, Jin-woo was teaching other crew members about Earth's filing systems. Color coding is essential, he declared. And remember, all sticky notes must be applied at exactly 45 degrees. The commander watched in horror as his crew nodded along, taking detailed notes. Sir, one officer said, I've created a new form to request permission to create new forms. Would you like to fill it out? It's only 300 pages. This is mutiny, Do-hyun shouted. Actually, Jin-woo corrected. According to Earth's Maritime Law Section 47, mutiny requires proper documentation filed at least 6 weeks in advance. You'll need Form M891 through M899, all signed in green ink during a full moon. More reports flooded in from across the fleet. Engineering has implemented a 27-step process to request toilet paper. The cafeteria now requires reservation forms filed in 7 languages. The elevator won't move without proper altitude adjustment permits. Jinwoo stood up, straightening his tie. Commander, we've learned so much from Earth. Their bureaucracy isn't just a system. It's an art form, a way of life. Other administrative officers joined him, all wearing Earth-style business attire. They carried stacks of forms and had multiple pens in their shirt pockets. We're implementing new fleet-wide regulations, Jinwoo announced. All activities now require proper documentation, filed in quintuplicate, with appropriate cover sheets. But we're supposed to be invading Earth. Do-hyun protested. About that, Jinwoo said, pulling out a massive binder. I've been reviewing our invasion protocols. Did you know we're in violation of 3,427 of our own regulations? We'll need to halt all operations until the proper paperwork is filed. Ha-yeon watched from her screen, smiling proudly. Earth hadn't just defeated the alien invasion. They had converted the invaders to their way of thinking. Would you like some advice on setting up your new administrative system? She asked Jinwoo. Would I? Jinwoo's eyes lit up. We have so many questions. How do you achieve that perfect shade of off-white for your forms? What's the optimal staple angle? Can you teach us about your filing cabinet organization theories? Do-hyun slumped in his chair, watching his once mighty invasion force transform into a bureaucratic nightmare. They hadn't just been defeated by Earth's administrative warfare, they had been assimilated by it. And somewhere in the fleet, someone was already creating a form to document their surrender. The final confrontation took place in meeting room B147 of Earth's Global Administrative Center. Hae-yeon sat at one end of a long table, surrounded by stacks of papers. Fleet Commander Do-hyun sat at the other end, looking completely broken. Now then, Hae-yeon said, checking her tablet, let's review your invasion attempt. She pulled out a massive binder labeled Comprehensive Audit of Failed Invasion Attempts, Volume 1 of 47. In the past 6 months, she began, your fleet has accumulated 7,492 parking violations, 18,973 incomplete form submissions, 42,156 improper stapling incidents, 93,847 incorrect ink color usage violations, 1 interpretive dance performed in the wrong time signature. Do-hyun's antennae drooped. Please, no more. The total fines come to approximately 8 trillion Earth dollars. Hae-yeon continued cheerfully. Though we're willing to offer a payment plan, it only requires filling out Form P1 through P900 and 99,999. Behind Do-hyun, his once mighty invasion fleet hung in orbit, covered in parking tickets. Half his crew had converted to Earth's bureaucratic ways, led by Jinwoo, who now wore a 3-piece suit and carried 17 different types of pens. We surrender, Do-hyun whispered. Just tell us what forms to sign. Excellent. Hae-yeon smiled. I've prepared the basic surrender package. It's only 50,000 pages. She pressed a button, and printers across the room sprang to life. Do-hyun watched in horror as paper after paper emerged. Now for Section 1. Hae-yeon began. Please provide your fleet's complete maintenance history, birth certificates for all crew members' grandparents, proof of insurance for surrendering, a detailed essay on why you chose Earth to invade, a minimum of 5 professional references from previously conquered planets. Jinwoo, who had joined them as the fleet's new chief administrative officer, raised his hand excitedly. Should we use the standard Earth surrender forms, or the special forms for first-time invasion failures? He asked eagerly. Both, Hae-yeon replied. In triplicate. And don't forget the cover sheets. Do-hyun watched as his former officer happily began organizing the surrender paperwork by color, size, and number of pages divisible by 3. "What happens now?" Do-hyun asked weakly. "Well," Hae-hyun consulted her notes, "after you complete the surrender forms, you'll need to register as a failed invasion entity, apply for a defeated alien fleet permit, schedule exit interviews for all crew members, submit a post-invasion environmental impact assessment, file tax returns for any planets you conquered on the way here." Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Hae-hyun checked her computer. "Oh dear," she said. "It seems your temporary invasion attempt license expired 4 minutes ago. You'll need to restart the entire process." Do-hyun's second heart nearly stopped. The entire process? Of course. Though this time you'll need to file everything backwards, using only purple ink, while humming Earth's national anthems in alphabetical order. The mighty alien commander, who had conquered 12 planets and led a fleet of 1,000 ships, finally broke down and cried. "How?" he sobbed. "How do you live like this?" Hae-hyun smiled and patted his shoulder. "Practice, Commander. Lots of practice. Now about those overdue parking tickets." Later that day, Hae-hyun stood at her office window, watching the alien fleet prepare to leave. Each ship had proper exit permits displayed, color-coded by size, and filed in perfect alphabetical order. On her desk sat the final victory report, ready to be filed in Earth's archives. It read, "Earth's defense against alien invasion successful. No shots fired. Enemy defeated through aggressive application of administrative procedure. Total casualties, 0. Total paper used, 47 million sheets. Victory achieved through superior bureaucratic warfare." She smiled as she added one final note. "Recommend updating Earth's defensive protocols. Current paperwork requirements clearly too simple. So just adding at least 3,000 new forms for future invasion attempts." After all, in the grand game of galactic warfare, Earth had discovered the ultimate weapon, bureaucracy, and they were very, very good at it.